Unong Aktien ko All India Congress Committee AICC Ubadeiru MP na Assam, Ugorov Gogoy, Ulong ba Menteri Rang Baka Assam, Uhimanta Beswa Sarma, Uday, Ubakwa Ban Pynbeit Hakilai Patha Khubor, Bat Lada Pau Ulinga. Pateng-teng ukro Pynbeit yaki Menteri Rang Ba jong jylla ba Marjan, Ban Yasoy yaka aka Kaba Kwah. Tang Ban Pyn Bat Pau Bakumu Chairman Kaneda, Ulala Le AA. Kani ka jingkren jong Gogoy, kalong habakili halor ka Jasoy jong ka Sorkar Assam bat ka Sorkar Meghalaya ya ka soskular MOU, Pynbeit put jong ki jylla hakakela ka Baningkong. Ugorov ulong ba, pentikna ba halor ka Jasoy ya ka MOU ule ni kumta. Hendray kumba ka pau barabor ujule kumta tang baon penpau nam yaladi hakila patha Khubor. Unoy lam ka Kongres long ba ki Menteri Rangba jong ki wei ki jylla ki dei ban long ki baskem. Hakan nongrem na kabenda ka jylla bat ki brio la jong. Ban shusha Pynbeit hakitu ki basyong hadispur lani Delhi. Ugogoy ulong shushu. Baya upod usam omla ban shushimrai tang da arngut ki Menteri Rangba da ka ba shushong hagawe ka kamera. Namarga dei ka kam ka bakta ya ki nongshong shnong hakapot.
That our Assam Chief Minister craves TRP, and if his name does not come in the newspaper regularly, he feels a sense of anxiety, and sometimes he might arm twist his neighboring chief ministers into signing something that they don't want, so that he gets his TRP to show that as NEDA chair he has managed to achieve something. I don't know whether this applies in this particular case, but I hear that often that is the case. So chief ministers of other states have to be strong and champion their own people and champion their own land and not be arm twisted by those sitting in Dispur or those sitting in Delhi or Nagpur.
It's a complicated issue.
Well, we might have not resolved the issue, but we did not have this level of bad blood and this level of distrust. We agreed to disagree. There were strong chief ministers on both sides, and they always said that this matter needs to be resolved, and there was a very cordial atmosphere. Now, this sense that we are feeling now of bad blood, that did not exist, and I think that is quite detrimental, and that just shows the mismanagement of the boundary issue in northeast India, which is so complex, and it is being treated so lightly, as I said, by people sitting in Dispur and Delhi. It's a mere photo op. You see, what happened prior to Assam Meghalaya was what happened in Assam Mizoram. You had the Union Home Minister Amit Shah coming to Shillong and convening a meeting of all state chief ministers and all state police DGPs on law and order, and then the police forces of two states were firing on each other. Now, where else have you seen that? And these two parties are part of NEDA. Then you have these two state chief ministers signing agreements, and then you have on the border again a conflict and shooting. I think it's highly unfortunate, it's condemnable, and it's a failure on both governments, on a failure of both chief ministers, and it shows how that mayors, the signing was just a photo op. There are much more serious issues to be resolved, but unfortunately in today's era, chief ministers and our honorable prime minister, they have started this politics of photo ops. Because we also have the state of Nagaland going to election. What happened to the Naga framework? We don't know what is the realities of that.
Hakabaya day, but kajing Pynbeit put hapadeng ki jylla nakaliang president ke MPCC, uba Vincent H. Pala ulong. Baka jing tau yek regional committee nakabenta ban Pynbeit put, kalong. Ban Pynbentoy bat ka David tang hapadeng ki politician. Namarkum kini ki regional committee kinum la ban smotho yakatinrai, bat ka jingkwa jogi pajba. Bat ka report ru syem la penpau pajba Henry la shu IT tang syaka sorkar. Nakaliang uba apalaw loong ru baka sorkar ka Kwah ban Pynbeit yu upod usam da ka bathong ya ka Boundry Commission. Namar lemba ka commission on la ban poi syaki shnong hakapot bat ya kendo ya ki nong yalam shnong bat ki kli nong senshar haswa ban syem ya karay kumno ban Pynbeit. Ulong ba kadai ka kam ka bahap banle hadu lai hadu sausnem om tang hapo lai hadu sau banai.
A regional committee which was formed is among politicians. But the boundary issues, not only boundary, it involved the culture, it involved the history, it involved the geography. So a regional committee by a mere MLA or a mere politicians or few members will not be able to know the history, the culture, the geography and everything. That is possible only if we take the Doloi, the Sale, the Headman, the Nokma and everybody on board and even the senior people who are there. So I think that's what we say, that the failure of the government, they depend on one or two politicians. So they solve the problem for the benefits of a few politicians. It's not for the interest of the state. Gauravji has said that these only might have helped to some people, but they are not serious with the problem of the people. That's why the regional committee amongst themselves, I think Ramrai MLA is one of the members of the regional committee. He himself was not happy. So how do you trust these regional committees and how do you think they are effective? So they neglect their own people also. They neglect the regional committees. And these regional committees never gave the report to the public. They gave it only to the CM. So that's not enough to solve the border issues. And I think it's very clear. We in the Congress, we always like to have a boundary commission. Because in the commission will go to the village, will meet the headman, will meet the secretary, will meet the same, will meet the Doloi, will meet of different people and then take a decision. It is not like what the NDA government has just gone and then met a few of their supporters and said that here is the signing of agreement. So a commission has to do exercise of almost 3-4 years. It's not only 3-4 months. So it's not only a lip service if you want to solve the problem, because even an inch of our land, nobody will be ready to spare their land. So we have to take it serious. So we stand in what we say, that we will have a boundary commission. I raised it in Parliament also. I've written a letter to the Prime Minister also, that we should have a boundary commission to solve the problem, not like what he said is a photo of whatever they have done as of now.
The boundary of a state cannot be decided by two chief ministers sitting in a private room, because it affects the people living in those areas and they have to be taken into confidence. So it is not their personal, they're not talking about the boundary between their homes. It is the boundary of two states. And I think it's quite I would say arrogant of them to think without taking the people on the ground into confidence, that just by mere sitting on these two in some private room somewhere in Delhi or in a Hotel Taj Vivanta in Guwahati, that they can just alter the boundary as they feel.
So what Gauravji has also said is very correct, that the land does not belong to the government. The land belongs to a private party. It has lots of history. It has so many other things also beyond that. Plus, people who live in Assam, they've got a different status. People who live in Meghalaya are all under the 6th schedule tribe, and most of them covered under certain rights and privileges. So changing the border is not very easy.